The human body is an incredible machine, but do you really know how it works? Some facts about us are so surprising that they seem like lies. For example, did you know that your eyes can change color over time? Or that we are the only living beings that cry with emotion? These details hide fascinating secrets about our organism, and many of them can change the way you see your own body. So, get ready to discover curiosities that will leave your mind restless and your curiosity piqued. Let's go! If someone were to say that the human brain is a miniature universe, they might not be exaggerating. It houses around 100 billion neurons, a number surprisingly close to the number of stars in the Milky Way. Each of these neurons connects to thousands of others, forming a complex network that transmits electrical impulses at speeds of up to 120 meters per second. In other words, every thought, memory, or emotion that you feel is born from this true cosmic spectacle inside your head. Curious, isn't it? And the most fascinating thing is that this neural universe is not static. Contrary to what many believe, the brain does not stop developing in adulthood. It adapts, creates new connections, and even compensates for damage, a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. This means that learning something new, such as a language or a musical instrument, literally reconfigures your mind. A good example is the memory of London taxi drivers, who have a more developed hippocampus due to the need to memorize complex routes. In other words, what you choose to learn shapes your brain, just as stars shape galaxies. Now, if there's one thing that makes this machine even more intriguing, it's the fact that most of its power lies dormant. Studies suggest that we only use a fraction of our brain's potential, leaving a veritable ocean of unexplored possibilities. Could there be a way to unlock the brain's hidden capabilities? Well, before we get to that, there's another phenomenon of the human body that's intriguing, to say the least. Have you ever stopped to think about how efficient your body is? For starters, it produces about 1 liter of saliva per day. It may seem like an irrelevant detail, but this transparent and apparently tasteless substance is a true multitasking machine. It lubricates food, facilitates digestion, protects teeth against bacteria, and even helps with the perception of flavor. Without saliva, eating would be a completely different experience, and quite uncomfortable. Have you ever felt your mouth dry for a long time? Well, it's not at all pleasant. And here's a curiosity that may surprise you. Over the course of a lifetime, a person can produce enough saliva to fill 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's right. And don't think that it's there just to help with chewing. Saliva contains powerful enzymes, such as amylase, which begins the digestion of carbohydrates before the food even reaches the stomach. In other words, while you take a bite of bread, your mouth is already working to transform it into energy. But saliva goes beyond digestion. It is also an indicator of your general health. Changes in the production or composition of saliva can indicate anything from dehydration to more serious problems, such as diabetes and infections. And speaking of changes in the body, there's something even more fascinating. Your eyes can change color throughout your life. This is a detail that few people notice, but it reveals a lot about how your body works. It may sound like something out of a science fiction movie, but human eyes can indeed change color over the course of a lifetime. This happens for a variety of reasons, from changes in melanin production to external factors like light and even mood. Have you ever noticed that some people with light-colored eyes appear to have different shades depending on their surroundings? This is because the iris reflects light differently, making the eyes appear brighter or softer. But it's not just lighting that influences this change. Hormonal changes, age, and even diet can affect eye color. Babies, for example, are often born with blue-gray eyes because the melanin in the iris has not yet fully activated. Over time, the pigmentation adjusts, defining the final color. In adults, the gradual reduction of melanin can cause the eyes to darken or lighten with age. Additionally, there are reports that the body's detoxification processes can lighten the iris, something that some people have noticed when adopting more natural, toxin-free diets. And the most interesting thing, emotional state can also influence the appearance of the eyes. Intense emotions, such as anger or sadness, can dilate the pupil, temporarily changing the tone of the iris. This is why, sometimes, the eyes appear more vibrant when someone is in love or darker when they are furious. The human body is truly full of mysteries, and if there is something unique about our species, It is the ability to express emotions so deeply that even our eyes reveal what we are feeling. But there is an even more unique detail. We are the only living beings that cry out of emotion. Think about it. Of all the species on the planet, we are the only ones who cry out of emotion. Sure, many animals shed tears to lubricate their eyes, but none do so as a way to express feelings. Human crying is a true biological mystery, as it is linked not only to the nervous system, but also to the chemistry of the body. When we cry, we release stress hormones and substances like oxytocin, which help relieve tension. In other words, crying is not just an emotional outburst, it is a self-regulation mechanism of the body. And the most interesting thing is that not all crying is the same. There are 3 types: basal crying, which keeps the eyes hydrated; reflex crying, which protects against irritations, such as smoke or onions; and emotional crying, which is exclusive to humans. The latter is the most fascinating, as it can be triggered by pain, joy, or even empathy. Researchers believe that it strengthens social bonds, because when someone sees another person crying, the natural impulse is to offer help or comfort. Makes sense, right? After all, who has never felt like hugging someone just because they shed a few tears? But here's a curious detail. Crying can also change the perception of those around us. Studies suggest that people who cry are seen as more vulnerable and human, which can arouse more compassion or even influence decisions. This shows how complex our emotions are and how our body responds to them. And speaking of unexpected bodily reactions, there is an organ in our body that defies logic. It floats in water. It seems unlikely, but it is the purest reality. If you threw a piece of liver or kidney into a tank of water, it would sink immediately. But what about the lungs? These are the only organs in the human body that float. That's because they store millions of tiny air-filled alveoli, which makes them lighter than water. This curious detail has even been used in forensic investigations. If a body is found in the water, experts can analyze whether the lungs are full of air to determine whether the person drowned or was already dead before entering the water. But the function of the lungs goes far beyond breathing. They are true natural filters, helping to eliminate unwanted particles and even some toxins from the body. Have you ever noticed how we cough after being in a very polluted environment? That's the body getting rid of impurities. Furthermore, the lungs don't work alone. The diaphragm, a muscle below the rib cage, acts like a pump, expanding and contracting to pull in and release air. And believe me, this action happens about 20,000 times a day without you having to think about it. Now, here's something impressive. Your lungs can increase their capacity with the right training. Activities like swimming and breathing exercises help strengthen your respiratory muscles, improving your physical and mental performance. Want a practical example? Deep breathing techniques, like those used in meditation and chanting, not only reduce stress, but also increase oxygenation to the brain, improving focus and mental clarity. But speaking of endurance and strength, there is one part of the human body that surpasses even concrete. Imagine trying to break a piece of concrete with your bare hands. Impossible, right? Now, consider the fact that there is something inside you that is 4 times stronger than this material. The femur, the thigh bone. It is the largest and strongest bone structure in the human body, capable of withstanding absurd pressure without breaking. To give you an idea, it can withstand a force of about 4,000 newtons, which means that, in theory, it could support the weight of a small car without breaking. But the secret to bone strength is not only its mineral composition, composed of calcium, collagen, and phosphorus, but also its ability to regenerate. Unlike concrete, which remains cracked after it is cracked, bones can rebuild themselves. This is why fractures can heal completely, as long as the body receives the right nutrients. Vitamin D, magnesium, and impact exercises, such as walking and weight training, help maintain bone density throughout life. But it is not all sunshine and roses. If not properly cared for, bones can weaken over time. Osteoporosis, for example, reduces bone density, making fractures more common. And that's exactly why maintaining healthy habits from an early age is essential. After all, no one wants to lose this natural superstructure, right? Now, speaking of the body's resistance, there is something that can really put it to the test, and that has already pushed the human organism to its extreme limit. Do you know what was the highest temperature anyone has ever endured? The human body is an incredible machine, capable of regulating its own temperature to survive different environments. But there is a limit. The highest fever ever recorded in a human being was an incredible 46.5 degrees Celsius. The case occurred in 1980, when a worker in the United States suffered heat stroke and was rushed to the hospital. Normally, a fever above 42 degrees Celsius can be fatal, as it causes the body's proteins to start coagulating, compromising vital organs. But, surprisingly, he survived. To understand how extreme this temperature is, just compare it to a common fever. When the body reaches 38 degrees Celsius or 39 degrees Celsius, we feel unwell, tired, and have chills. Above 40 degrees Celsius, convulsions and even brain failure can occur. Fever is a defense mechanism, helping the body to eliminate viruses and bacteria. However, when it goes beyond this limit, the body itself collapses. This type of hyperthermia can occur in situations such as severe heat stroke or aggressive infections. Interestingly, some techniques can help lower your temperature quickly. Cold compresses, drinking fluids, and even taking cold showers are effective methods to prevent further damage. But the resilience of the human body is impressive. After all, despite all the adversities, it can adapt, heal, and even overcome extreme conditions. And this leads us to a big question: what else is our body hiding? What other secrets are hidden within us? Now that you know these secrets about the human body, how many of them surprised you? What seems like a simple detail, like the color of your eyes changing or your lungs floating, actually reveals how incredible and complex we are. How about paying more attention to your body's signals? It speaks to you all the time, and understanding this can make all the difference in your life. And if you want to continue discovering more curiosities like these, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The next fact may be even more surprising.